Grace and peace of our Lord Jesus Christ. Islamic law has become a topic of discussion in many countries. Some people call for it even in Western countries, as we see on many occasions Muslims in the West calling for the application of Sharia. Do those themselves understand what Islamic Sharia is? Does the West understand what Sharia is? What are its sources, and can its application succeed in today's world? In this video, we will explain what Sharia law is, look at its sources, and show why it cannot be applied in the modern era. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with others. What is Sharia? Sharia comes from the Arabic word meaning way, or path. It refers to a set of religious rules that guide almost every aspect of a Muslim's life. These rules cover both personal actions, such as prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, as well as broader social and legal matters, such as crime, marriage, and inheritance. Many people believe that Sharia is a complete legal system, but it is important to understand that Sharia is more than just a set of laws. It is a comprehensive guide for Muslims to practice their faith in all areas of life. Sharia shapes private behavior, such as personal devotion to God, and public behavior, such as how society should function in harmony with Islamic principles. However, Sharia is not a fixed or uniform system. There is no single Sharia law that can be applied globally. Instead, Sharia is interpreted differently depending on cultural, historical, and regional contexts. For example, the way Sharia is implemented in Saudi Arabia may look very different from the way it is implemented in Indonesia or Egypt. This difference comes from different schools of thought within Islam and how they interpret the Quran and other sources of Islamic law. This diversity of interpretation has given rise to a wide range of practices throughout the Islamic world. Some countries impose strict interpretations of Sharia, while others incorporate only certain aspects of it into their legal systems. For this reason, there is often confusion and debate about what Sharia really stands for, especially when it comes to issues such as human rights, justice, and equality. In short, Sharia is a religious framework that guides Muslims in their faith, but it is not a single unified system. Their interpretation and application vary widely, creating a complex and sometimes controversial topic. The four main sources of Islamic law. Sharia is built on four main sources, which provide guidance to Muslims in their personal lives and in legal matters. These sources help shape how Islamic principles are applied in everyday situations, and have been the basis for the development of Islamic law throughout history. The Quran. The Quran is considered the literal word of God by Muslims, and serves as the primary source of guidance for all aspects of life, including worship, morals, and legal rulings. It is the ultimate authority in Islam, and Muslims believe it contains divine instructions on how to live a righteous life. The Quran addresses issues such as family relationships, social justice, and crime and punishment. However, the Quran does not provide detailed laws for every possible situation, which is why Muslims turn to additional sources for further clarification. Sunnah, hadiths. Sunnah refers to the practices, teachings, and sayings of the Prophet Muhammad. They are preserved in collections called hadiths, which document how the Prophet lived, how he dealt with different situations, and how he applied Islamic principles in his life. For Muslims, the Prophet's actions and words provide a model for living according to Islamic values. The Sunnah serves as an essential complement to the Quran, filling in the gaps where the Quran may not provide specific instructions. Consensus. Ijma means consensus and refers to the unanimous agreement of Muslim scholars on matters where the Quran and Sunnah may not provide clear guidance. When issues arise that are not directly addressed in the foundational texts, scholars come together to interpret Islamic law in a way that is consistent with the broader principles of Islam. This consensus creates a unified approach and ensures the ability of Islamic law to adapt to new challenges or unclear situations. Consensus helps maintain continuity and consistency in Islamic legal interpretation across different regions and times. Measurement. Qiyas involves using analogy to apply established principles from the Quran and Sunnah to new or developing issues. When a situation arises that is not explicitly addressed in the Quran or Sunnah, scholars use analogy to draw parallels with similar situations that are addressed in texts. In doing so, they can extend the scope of Islamic law principles to include modern or unexpected problems, ensuring that Islamic law remains relevant in a changing world. For example, using an analogy, scientists might apply the alcohol rule to other modern substances that have similar effects. While these four sources are fundamental to Islamic law, their interpretation varies depending on cultural, regional, and scholarly viewpoints. Different schools of thought within Islam may place different emphasis on these sources, leading to differences in how Sharia is understood and applied throughout the Islamic world. This diversity of interpretation can lead to differences in legal practices from one country to another, contributing to the complexity of Sharia law. The historical context of Islamic law. Islamic law was developed in the 7th century, during a period when the world looked very different than it does today. It was shaped by the social, economic, and political conditions of the early Islamic world, especially in the Arabian Peninsula. The laws that emerged were designed to address the realities of the time and provide direction for how individuals and societies should live. For example, criminal laws, such as the amputation of a thief's hand, were designed to act as a severe deterrent to crime in small tribal communities where the means of enforcing order were limited. In these close-knit societies, harsh punishments helped maintain stability and discourage behavior that could harm collective well-being. Inheritance rules were created under Sharia law to ensure fair distribution of wealth in a system where family ties are crucial. In tribal society, family unity and shared resources were essential for survival, so inheritance laws aimed to protect family members and ensure that each individual received his or her due share. These laws were based on the prevailing structure of the time, whereby male relatives usually bore responsibility for taking care of the family and women's share of inheritance was disadvantaged. Marriage laws also reflect the realities of life in the 7th century. Polygamy was permitted because it served specific social functions, such as satisfying men's desires or increasing tribal alliances. Divorce was regulated, but men generally had more power in marriage decisions, reflecting the masculine nature of society at the time. These laws are designed for a context in which family stability and continuity are viewed differently than in modern times. The tribal and isolated nature of these early societies meant that these laws were practical for their time. Sharia law helped organize life in a world where power was held by rulers and social order was maintained within small groups, and people relied heavily on close family and community ties for survival. However, applying many of these laws in today's globalized and diverse societies presents a much greater challenge. Modern legal systems are based on human rights, democracy, and equality, principles that did not exist in the same form during the 7th century. Today's world emphasizes individual freedoms, gender equality, and justice in a way that contradicts the ancient context in which Sharia was formed. As societies grow larger, more connected, and more complex, the framework of 7th century Sharia struggles to meet modern challenges. Today's prevailing values and priorities, such as the protection of human dignity, equality for all, and the separation of religious and state laws, make it difficult to apply many aspects of Islamic law in the 21st century. This historical gap creates significant tension when trying to integrate medieval laws into modern legal frameworks. Sharia in the modern era. Today, Islamic law clashes with modern values, especially with regard to human rights, democracy, and equality. Many of its rules were formed in a much earlier era, reflecting a different social and moral landscape. This leads to great tension when attempts are made to apply it in modern, globalized societies. One major area of conflict is women's rights. Under interpretations of Sharia, women's roles and freedoms are restricted. For example, in some countries, women cannot travel, marry, or make important decisions without the approval of a male guardian. This limits their personal autonomy and stands in stark contrast to modern views on gender equality and women's empowerment, which prioritize independence and equal rights. Religious freedom is another area where Sharia-based legal systems often conflict with modern values. In many interpretations, leaving Islam or converting to another religion is considered apostasy, which should be punished by death or imprisonment in some countries. This is a direct violation of international standards of religious freedom, where individuals are free to choose their beliefs without fear of punishment. In addition, the punishments stipulated in the Hudud laws, such as stoning for adultery or amputation of limbs for theft, are viewed by many as extreme and out of keeping with contemporary notions of justice. These sanctions are rarely implemented in most Muslim-majority countries today, but where they exist they generate widespread criticism and calls for reform. The harshness of these punishments raises concerns about human dignity and the role of justice systems in supporting humane treatment. Many countries, such as Saudi Arabia and Iran, still apply Islamic law in various areas of public and private life, especially in matters of family law, criminal justice, and religious practice. These legal systems often lead to debates about the fairness of Sharia law, with many claiming that it conflicts with the values of justice and human dignity on which modern societies are based. A major point of tension is that Sharia law is often based on strict interpretations of ancient texts, while modern legal systems are built on principles of secularism and equality. Secular laws prioritize individual freedoms and are designed to evolve with changing societal needs. In contrast, Sharia is rooted in a specific historical context and may be difficult to adapt to contemporary issues, such as advances in science and technology and international human rights standards. The basic principles of Sharia often conflict with the values of modern legal systems, which emphasize human rights, secular governance, and equality. These conflicts make it difficult for Sharia law to coexist with or adapt to the legal frameworks that guide 21st century societies. Why cannot Sharia law be applied in today's world? Sharia law faces significant challenges when it comes to adapting to the complexities of modern life. Here are 3 main reasons why it cannot be applied effectively in today's world. Contradiction in interpretation. One of the main challenges facing Islamic law is the wide variety of interpretations it allows. Different scholars, schools of thought, and countries apply Sharia law differently. Some Muslims adhere to strict traditional interpretations, while others adopt a more flexible and modern approach. This creates confusion and inconsistency, especially in legal matters. There is no single unified standard that applies throughout the Islamic world. In one country, a particular law may be harshly enforced, while in another, it may be completely ignored. This contradiction makes it difficult to create a clear legal framework capable of operating effectively in today's diverse and interconnected world. Human rights concerns. Islamic law also faces criticism because it conflicts with international human rights standards. For example, gender inequality is embedded in many interpretations of Sharia, where women may have fewer rights than men in areas such as inheritance, legal certification, and marriage. Inheritance laws often favor men, and in some cases, a woman's testimony in court is half as valuable as a man's. In addition, Sharia-based punishments, such as flogging, amputation, or stoning, are viewed as violations of basic human dignity and are considered inhumane by most international standards. These sanctions are particularly controversial and often draw widespread criticism from human rights organizations, highlighting the incompatibility between Islamic law and modern human rights principles. Cultural and technological progress. Modern societies face a set of challenges that did not exist when Islamic law was developed in the 7th century. Rapid advances in technology, science, and global communications require legal systems capable of evolving and adapting to new realities. Islamic law, rooted in ancient religious texts, is unable to keep pace with these developments. For example, issues such as digital privacy, cybersecurity, global trade regimes, and modern medical ethics are difficult to address within the framework of Islamic law, which was designed for a much simpler and smaller world. As a result, Sharia does not have the flexibility or adaptability necessary to deal with the fast-paced and ever-changing demands of modern life. Islamic law is not appropriate to address the complexity, diversity, and progress witnessed in today's globalized world. Its inconsistency, incompatibility with human rights, and inability to adapt to modern developments make it an ineffective legal system for contemporary societies. Sharia versus secular laws. Sharia-based legal systems and secular laws represent 2 very different approaches to governing societies, especially when it comes to individual rights and societal values. Sharia, Islamic law, is deeply rooted in Islamic religious texts and traditions. Its source comes from the Quran, Hadith, and centuries of Islamic science. This means that Sharia rules according to Islamic principles, which affects personal behavior and public laws. In practice, Sharia often imposes specific religious practices, such as daily prayer, fasting during Ramadan, and dress codes. It also formulates laws relating to family matters, inheritance, and criminal justice. However, Islamic law can be strict because it is derived from an ancient context that does not easily adapt to modern changes. Many of its rules were created for a specific time and place in 7th century Arabia and do not take into account the complexities of today's world. For example, the legal system under Sharia often limits the rights of non-Muslims and those who do not strictly follow Islamic practices, which can lead to inequality in multi-religious or secular societies. In addition, punishments in Islamic law, such as punishments imposed under Hudud, such as flogging or amputation of limbs, are considered cruel and brutal by modern standards. Secular law. In contrast, secular laws are not linked to any religious traditions. They aim to protect the rights of everyone, regardless of their religious beliefs, gender, or background. Secular legal systems are based on principles such as human rights, equality before the law, and freedom of belief. These laws are designed to be adaptable, able to change over time to meet the needs of a diverse modern society. Secular law tends to be more comprehensive and flexible. It allows people from different religious backgrounds to live together under the same legal system without imposing one group's beliefs on others. Secular legal systems focus on ensuring equal justice for all, which means that laws are applied consistently, regardless of a person's religion or culture. This makes secular law more suitable for pluralistic and globalized societies, where people of different beliefs and lifestyles coexist. Secular law is more flexible, comprehensive, and able to adapt to the realities of modern life. It guarantees freedom of belief and equal rights for all, regardless of faith or background. In contrast, Islamic law is often rigid, rooted in ancient contexts, and struggles to accommodate the diversity and complexity of today's world. Sharia played an important role in shaping early Islamic societies, providing guidance for personal and communal life. However, its foundations were built for a world very different from today's globalized and diverse societies. Inconsistencies in interpretation, inconsistency with modern human rights, and inflexibility in dealing with technological and cultural advances make Sharia unsuitable for modern governance. Christians need to stay informed about Islamic law, especially since debates about religion and law continue to shape public life in many parts of the world. However, it is important to recognize the crucial difference between religious laws, which are highly personal and tied to faith, and modern legal systems, which must ensure equal justice for all people, regardless of their beliefs. As Christians, we are called to engage thoughtfully in conversations about justice, law, and religious freedom. This means advocating for a society in which laws protect human dignity and religious freedom for all. Promoting peace and understanding in these discussions is essential to fostering a world where different beliefs can coexist respectfully, without one system imposing itself on others. If you found this video useful, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with others. By doing so, you can help more people understand the truth about Sharia law and its impact on modern society. And also, if you have a question, don't hesitate to comment. Your comments encourage us to do more. Thank you. God bless you all.